the solution to this example, the first thing we need to do is figure out which lines have got this fax to EM in it. Now the way we can do that is we can make use of the search or find function. So I'm going to use the search function first, and you'll see what we're saying is find the text, and the text we're going to search for is fax to EM. And the benefit of the search is that it won't matter that this is in lowercase and that's in uppercase. I'm going to tell it to look over here, and the start number is irrelevant. So I'm going to say OK. Now what you'll see is we've got a value error. So where it exists, we have it, but where there's a value error, it means there's no fax to EM. So what I'm going to do is just create something that tells me that these are calls and these are faxes. So the way to do that is we're going to build an is error around it. And that'll tell us if there is an error or if there isn't an error. So the false means there's no error, it must be fax to EM. And then I'm going to add an if around it. So I'm going to say if all of that is false, notice no inverted commas, then we're going to say fax to EM. If it's not that, it must be a call. I'll copy and paste it down, and now at least you've got which ones are calls and which ones are fax to EM. The next thing we want to work out is how many spaces there are here. Now you'll see why, and we're particularly interested in this last space. Now in order to work out spaces, we're going to make use of the len function. So the len function is very simple. Go len, and all we do is we point at that cell, and it tells us there's 51 characters in that cell, and I'll copy it down. I then want to do the exact same thing, but I'm going to remove all the spaces, and then you'll see that the length without spaces minus the length with spaces tells us how many spaces there are. To remove the spaces, I'm going to use substitute, and I'm going to say look at that text there. The old text I want to remove is a space. I'll replace it with no spaces. When I say OK, it gives me that. That's not all I want. I'm going to put a len around it. When I copy and paste it down, you'll see it's now telling us 51 with spaces, 44 without spaces. So the number of spaces must be that minus that. So it's 7 spaces. Let's just check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Perfect. Can copy and paste that down. Now we get to the part that's a bit tricky. So what we need to do is we need to go to the 7th space, which is the last space, and take everything from there. The problem is it's quite hard to find where is the 7th space. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to put in a character in the 7th space that doesn't exist here. So what we can use is there's the substitute function, and you'll see it says I want to go to that text. What's the old text? I'm going to put between inverted commas a space. For the new text, I'm actually going to put a straight up line. It can be anything that will only appear once. If you left it like this, you'll see there's a straight line where all the spaces are, but we can tell it the instance number, and we know how many spaces there are, so I'm going to choose that it uses that space. So when I say OK, and for now we're just going to make this bigger, you can see that we've now got this character in the space before the numbers. Now that we have that, we can actually work further. So we can say, okay, now that I know I've got that character, I'm going to build a function. I'm I'm going to use the find function. I'm going to say find that upward line in this text that we've come up with. And you'll see it tells me it's the 47th character. You'll see it oscillates between them. And what we can now do is then add, because we now know that that is where this space is. So I'm going to say use the mid function, go look here, start at what we've worked out to be where that space is. I'm just going to say +1, comma, and go for, and I'm just going to make it a big number, make it 100. Again, copy and paste it down. And you'll see it seems to have done the job, but now you can see it's gone left aligned. And if I highlight it, you can see it's not summing it. So then we should perhaps wrap a value function around it. Now when I copy and paste it down, we've gone and extracted from all this data just the amounts, and the ones that would interest us and we can filter on it are just the fax to EM, but we could get the other information as well.